Welcome to this edition of The Explainer. Today, we're exploring the architecture of narcissistic destruction. It's a dark, quiet mystery, and if you're here right now, well, there's a very good chance you've lived through it. We're stepping into a space that is deeply personal and profoundly painful. You met someone who made you feel like literally the most special person in the whole world. They remembered every single tiny detail about you. Within weeks, they were calling you their soulmate. You finally felt entirely seen, deeply understood, and completely loved. But slowly, everything changed. The text started spacing out. That incredible warmth turned into a freezing cold shoulder over the absolute smallest, most trivial misunderstandings. The person who used to look at you with total adoration, suddenly they're looking at you with pure contempt. And by the time you even realized what was happening, you were already destroyed. You were walking on eggshells in your own life, totally terrified of triggering their next silent treatment or explosive rage. And you know what the most disturbing part of all of this is? Okay, let's dive into this. By the time you realized you were destroyed, why were you still defending them? Why were you keeping all their secrets, protecting their reputation, and constantly making excuses for their cruelty to your friends and family? Well, you defended them because this wasn't a love story. It was a psychological trap, and millions of people fall into it every single day. The person you met at the very beginning, the one you fought so unbelievably hard to keep and win back, was carefully constructed to trap you. This kind of destruction doesn't just happen by accident. It happens in 6 calculated stages. Let's look at how this trap was meticulously set. Stage 1. Narcissists don't start with abuse. Obviously, right? If they did, you would have walked away instantly. Instead, they start with overwhelming love, a recognized psychological phase called love bombing. It consists of constant attention, excessive compliments, and grand gestures, all used to create fast emotional dependency. In real life, it looks like them wanting to move in after just a month, booking surprise vacations out of nowhere, texting you good morning every single day without fail. They mirror your hopes and dreams, declaring their undying love for you within mere days or weeks. It is a dizzying, euphoric high. You genuinely feel like you're finally in the movie romance you always dreamed of. But I need you to hear me. This isn't romance. This is the bait. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why you couldn't resist. Your brain is simply not immune to these grand gestures. When you're love-bombed, a literal chemical trap is set in your mind. Dopamine surges, creating intense pleasure and an intense craving for their next text or phone call. Oxytocin builds a rapid, incredibly deep sense of bonding and unshakable trust, making you feel physiologically safe in their arms. Serotonin spikes, making you entirely focused and obsessed with this one person. You are literally becoming chemically addicted to them before you even know who they truly are. Your biology is being completely hijacked. It feels like magic, but it's actually a precise neurochemical conditioning process. The Journal of Personality Disorders makes this chillingly clear. They state that narcissists use love bombing deliberately to create fast emotional dependency in their victims. Let that sink in for a second. What happened to you wasn't just a passionate romance that fizzled out. It was a calculated academic reality. The intensity was weaponized from day one. The person you thought you were falling in love with was literally studying you. They were figuring out exactly what kind of love you were starved for and providing it in overwhelming doses so you would never ever want to leave. Once that bond is ironclad, stage 2 begins: identity erosion. In real life, it masquerades as just everyday comments. You're too sensitive. You always overreact. Honestly, nobody else would put up with you. It starts so small. Maybe it's a little joke about your outfit, then a critique of your laugh, and eventually, it becomes a complete teardown of your entire personality. But the psychological intent behind these words is incredibly dark. These are calculated attacks designed to chip away at your armor. Over time, because you trust this person implicitly, you actually stop trusting your own feelings. You start seeing yourself through their eyes. And their eyes, they show a version of you that's broken, needy, incompetent, and honestly, incredibly lucky to have them around at all. Which brings us to stage 3. A narcissist cannot completely control you if other healthy people can see what they're doing. So they have to isolate you. But it never looks like control at first. It disguises itself as deep affection and concern. They'll whisper, "I just want to spend the weekend in bed with you instead of going to your friend's party. I just want you all to myself." Or they start planting these subtle little seeds of doubt. "You know, your friends don't really care about you like I do." Or, "Your sister just doesn't understand our connection. She causes you way too much stress." Slowly, systematically, your entire support system vanishes. You stop making plans. You stop reaching out. And when you're finally totally alone, they become your entire world. Your only source of validation, your only comfort, and, tragically, your only source of reality. And when they become your only source of reality, we enter the darkest phase, stage 4, gaslighting. The real psychological destruction begins right here. This is when someone makes you completely question your own memory, your sanity, your reality. They will look you dead in the eye and say with terrifying conviction, "That never happened. You're imagining things. You're just crazy." They'll deny entire conversations that you absolutely know you had. They'll claim you agreed to things you definitely didn't. When this happens day after day, week after week, you stop trusting your own mind. You actually begin to need them to tell you what is real and what is not. You completely surrender your inner compass over to the person who is actively spinning you in circles. So the crucial point is this. A study published in Psychological Science found that consistent gaslighting actually causes victims to develop symptoms identical to traumatic brain injury. I'm pausing because you really need to understand the physical severity of what you survived. You weren't losing your mind. Your brain was physically responding to severe trauma. This wasn't just a bad argument or a toxic dynamic. The immense confusion, the sudden memory loss, the absolute brain fog you experienced, the sheer exhaustion where you literally couldn't even make basic decisions like what to eat for dinner, that was your nervous system shutting down under the weight of sustained psychological abuse. By now, you're just a shadow of your former self. But eventually, the pain gets so bad that you might finally decide, I have to leave. That is exactly when stage 5 kicks in. Healthy, consistent love is stable, safe, and predictable emotional support. You always know where you stand. But what you experienced was intermittent reinforcement, a wildly unpredictable cycle of sudden affection and cruel abuse. Just when you were absolutely at your breaking point, ready to walk out that door forever, the abuser flips a switch. Suddenly, miraculously, the soulmate from stage 1 is back. They're kind, they're loving, they're everything you've been starving for. You suffer terrifying emotional whiplash. Your brain just floods with relief and hope, completely convincing you that the nightmare is finally over. And that whiplash is incredibly powerful. This unpredictable reward keeps you hooked using the exact same psychological mechanism as slot machines. Think about it. You sit at the machine, pulling the lever over and over, getting nothing but coldness, silence, or anger. But you keep pulling it because you remember the jackpot you hit on day 1. And then suddenly, 3 cherries line up. The soulmate returns for a weekend. Research actually shows that this chaotic pattern creates an emotional bond far stronger than consistent love ever could be. It binds you to them through sheer, desperate confusion, making you willing to endure months of agony literally just for one single day of their war. Let's move to the final, devastating act and see how this builds. Stage 6, the discard. The trap finally snaps shut when a narcissist has taken absolutely everything they possibly can from you. After draining your confidence, your identity, your independence, and your light, they discard you, leaving you feeling completely worthless. Sometimes it happens in a brutal, blinding flash of ghosting. Other times, they replace you instantly with someone new, flaunting them to inflict maximum pain. Because they've spent months or even years rewiring your brain to believe you're nothing without them, the discard feels like the literal end of your world. You're left totally alone, standing in the rubble of a life you don't even recognize anymore.
And this leads to the deepest shame that victims carry. It's called trauma bonding. Because of the intense chemical addiction from the love bombing and that deeply ingrained slot machine addiction of intermittent reinforcement, victims often do the unthinkable in the aftermath of the discard. They beg to come back. They profusely apologize for things they never even did. They thank their abuser for the good times, willing to accept absolutely any scrap of attention. If you did this, please listen to me closely right now. This is not a personal failure. It is a deeply painful, formally recognized medical condition. It is a biological symptom of the abuse, not a symptom of your weakness. Your brain was just screaming for the only antidote it thought could stop the agonizing pain.
Which brings us to your recovery. You were not targeted for being weak. You were targeted precisely because of your empathy, your kindness, and your massive capacity for love. Narcissists are deeply, profoundly empty inside. They can't generate their own joy, so they desperately need someone with an abundance of light and energy to feed off of. They looked at you and saw everything they lack. Your biggest vulnerability in this trap was actually your greatest, most beautiful strength. You gave them your heart because that is simply who you are, and their inability to hold it is a reflection of their deficit, not yours. Now, what's really interesting to remember here is a profound truth. Narcissists do not choose broken people. They choose the strongest ones. Breaking a strong, vibrant, loving person feels like the ultimate twisted victory for someone who has no internal sense of self. They saw how strong you are, how brightly you shined, and they literally took it as a challenge. The fact that you survived this psychological war zone and are actively seeking to understand it right now, that proves your strength is still there. They didn't extinguish your fire, they just temporarily covered it up with ash. Recognizing these 6 stages is your first massive step toward freedom. The architecture of their destruction has finally been exposed, and your healing truly begins the moment you internalize this reality. It was never about your worth. It was always, from the very first love bombing text to the very last cruel discard, about their emptiness. You have the power to rebuild while they are doomed to repeat the cycle, forever searching for a light they can never ever possess. So the only question left is, what beautiful things will you build with your strength now? Thank you for exploring this with the Explainer. We'll see you next time.